now. So it says we're connecting the stream software to go live. It says we are live. I'm hoping we are actually live, giving it a few other awkward seconds. Maybe now that I'm trying to go full time, we'll actually make a more proper intro. Maybe, or maybe we'll just keep it as is, because I don't know, maybe we find it charming or easy.
Who needs intros?
Who needs intros, right? Well, here is your intro for the week. The Weekly Restart, the unofficial name for the podcast now, is the Weekly Restart. So I am Andres Restart. This is my co-host and good friend Brandon. Once What About Nintendo, then What About Nod Narb, and now just Brandon, maybe?
Just Brandon.
Let's just roll with Brandon. Anyways, yes, the Weekly Restart is here, and tonight what we're going to be discussing is the recently announced Super Mario Bros. Movie Direct that will be airing tomorrow. And I believe it's going to be at, 2 p.m. Pacific time? So that'd be 5 p.m. Eastern time? Yes, and this is going to have the second trailer for the Mario movie. So we're going to be live streaming that tomorrow. We're going to be talking about it tonight, and then we'll be talking about it all throughout tomorrow and kind of the week as well. So we're going to be talking about that tonight, as well as going over a little bit of a sales update for Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. We talked about earlier in the week, last week a little bit. But yes, the games have sold over 10 million in 3 days. We're going to be going over that. We're also going to be talking about a tease we got from Masahiro Sakurai, the creator of Smash Bros. Kirby, and the one behind the Kid Icarus Uprising game that came on 3DS, because apparently he's teasing a port to a Nintendo system or some sort of home console on his YouTube channel. So we're going to be talking about that as well tonight. And whatever you guys bring up in the chat, that we will also discuss as well. And that's the general plan for the evening. But before I check in with the chat and get things rolling, Brandon, how are you? Tell me how you are so I can breathe.
I've been playing a lot of Xenoblade this weekend. Got a lot of days off because of Thanksgiving and everything.
Nice.
So I had a lot of time. Like 75 hours in the game. In Chapter 7, the final chapter. I estimate if I want to do everything in the game, it's probably going to take me another 15 to 20 hours. But I could probably beat the story in another 5 to 7, I think. If I just blasted through. Because I'm way over level for everything. So, honestly, I could probably do in 5 hours. If I just ran straight to the goal.
You could switch the game to hard mode and then everything gets very complicated.
I like being over leveled, it's fun.
Yeah, I went back and forth between hard mode and normal mode.
I honestly don't think I would enjoy the game on hard mode, or if I was playing the game on without being over leveled, because there's just way too many enemies and forced encounters. And it's just so much where you just fight after fight after fight after fight. I think I would honestly not enjoy it as much as I did being able to get through those fights much quicker.
I'll tell you that one thing I noticed playing in hard mode for Xenoblade 3, your chain attacks do way less damage. In normal, I was oh man, I'm doing amazing. I'm hitting over 1 million early game. Yeah. I was I'm amazing. And then I switched to hard and was what happened? My damage is half as much. What's going on? And it wasn't that I was playing worse. I was actually probably playing better. But the ratios are not as in your favor in hard mode. No.
Oof.
Yeah. But I'm glad you're enjoying the game. You're close to the finish line. Maybe we can have that spoiler discussion soon.
Yeah.
Well, I think at this point we would no longer. I mean, it would be a spoiler discussion, but it would be more of a let's compare 3 to 1 and 2 kind of discussion. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But awesome. So let's check in with the chat here, guys. Thank you for watching. Let me know how everything is looking and sounding. If you can hear me, if you can hear Brandon, if you can hear the background music, if anything looks weird or off or sounds a little off, let me know. I would greatly appreciate that. And also, if you guys are watching, if you could like the stream, share this out to others, that would also be super helpful as well. But yeah, let's just check in here, see how people are doing. So I think yes, the Megaton Menace added me earlier. I did answer you in the chat, but in terms of where I'm at with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I just beat the 3rd gym leader. I have beaten 3 of the Titans, and I have beaten 1 of the bases. So I guess that puts me at 7 badges of the 18. And now I have this plan that I'm going to go to the Psychic Gym leader that's, I think, if you follow things like how they're supposed to be, it would be the 6th gym badge. So it's going to be kind of a challenge for me. But now since I've done 3 of the Titans, I've unlocked more maneuverability with my legendary Pokemon Koraidon. So I believe I should be able to get up there now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that and trying to evolve. I have what's his name, Charcadet, the little fire guy that can turn into either the Mega Man looking evolutions, either the fire psychic or the ghost or the.
What are you talking about?
Or the fire ghost. There, it's really cool. So I mean, you're a non-Pokemon fan, so you can just
yeah. I don't imagine a Mega Man Pokemon.
Bro.
I don't even know.
Dude. How could you not? They showed it off.
What did you say it was called?
They showed it off. It was one of the Pokemon they revealed before the game came out. Like, I could share it on stream if you want. I don't know what's the best way to, or I could just share it to you on Twitter. Actually, let's test that out. Yeah. I'm gonna just go on Google search because I know there's been an issue on the podcast lately. I believe I fixed it. Mm-hmm. So
okay,
I'm gonna go ahead and share. Guys, let me know if you can hear Brandon. Okay, here we go. It's happening. Okay. I'm going to share.
And
nope, it's wrong. It's messed up. Your audio's still there, but I'm not sharing the image. Hold on.
Interesting.
It crapped out on me. It should be there. I don't know why it's just showing our faces though. That's not what's supposed to be happening. Should show. There we go. Should be there now.
No, it's doing it.
Yeah, and I believe your audio is working. So,
okay.
But those are
go to the stream to see this then. Well,
Armorogue and Ceruledge.
Trying to make me watch an ad. Hold on.
Okay. Take your time. Take your time.
It's not. YouTube is not working for me right now.
Oh. Well, anyways. While people are waiting, I'll just explain. I'm trying to get my Charcadet to become this guy over here. You just gave up?
I just gave up. It was not working.
Oh, okay. And
YouTube wouldn't even load there.
All right. All right. Whatever, man. But yes, I'm trying to get him to evolve into this. I know I need to collect like some bronze ore material, and then I should be able to evolve him. But that's my current plan. I believe that the lady there is in around the 6th gym leader. 6th gym leader. I said that with air quotes, but that is like the southwesternmost part of the map where there's like a big hill and there's like a city somewhere in there. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm enjoying the game. I have noticed a lot of glitches and a lot of issues. So, you know, that story's still there. It definitely bothers me because I was like, man, this is dumb. It's ruining my experience. But it's not actually ruining it because I'm still playing and enjoying it. But there's definitely like moments that I'm like, I wish that wasn't there. Like I went up like a tower. Like, you know, there's like these towers where you find the gimme ghouls in the chests. And I got up on one. This is the third one I had gone to. The first two, there were no issues or glitches. But this third one I got onto, started the battle. And my trainer, you have to walk up to the Pokemon to initiate the battle. Well, you could chuck a ball at it. But you could also initiate the battle by walking up to it and talking to it. But it starts the battle. When I do that, normally the trainer would jump back. And it's like, you know, it's like a little battle arena. But in this third case, instead of that happening like it's supposed to, my trainer failed to jump back and was standing in front of the gimme ghoul the entire time while my Pokemon was fighting it. So every time an attack would happen, it would just run straight through me onto the gimme ghoul. And there was no fixes. I just had to end the battle. When I ended the battle, the game resumed normally, like everything was fine, but that happened. And that's
lovely.
I mean, to be quite frank, that it's stupid. But, you know, I wish that didn't happen. And there's like little things like that happen sometimes. Like, man, you know, they really should have not done that. That should not happen. No. It's weird because everything I said about the game, I stand by, right? Like, I am still enjoying my experience. You know, I'm having a good time with it. but I will still acknowledge that there are issues. And it's very clear that they just did not take their time with this game. They should have.
The more I see about this game, the worse my opinion on everything about it is, especially the visuals. I actually thought a lot more highly of the visuals when like the less I saw of it, because the trailers, they show like the best case scenario, and even then I was like, oh, this doesn't look very good. But the more I see of it, the more people show other areas which have like more and more issues. Like I said before, that they had like kind of fixed the tiling issue from Legends Arceus.
Depends
but
on the
actually,
distance.
A lot of times it's way worse in Scarlet Violet than it ever was in Arceus. In fact, a lot of times the game in general looks worse than it does in Arceus. I think it has the potential to look better, and there are areas that look a lot better. But some parts are just so simple, there's just nothing, or the geometry is just so basic and the textures are so tiled, it actually ends up looking worse. So I will amend an addendum, the word. I'm amending my previous statement.
Sounds like you're trying to come up with a new Pokemon name.
Yes, but I'm amending my statement from last week. I believe I said that the game did look significantly better than Legends Arceus, but that's not always the case. Actually, I take that back.
It depends. I would say it's supposed to be a better looking game. But there are times.
I think if they had time to actually make the game look more consistently, like
the beginning parts of the game blatantly look better. Like it's clear that the beginning has maybe a little bit more optimization than the rest of the game. And I haven't gone through everything, right? So I'm sure it's a bit of a mixed bag. But yeah, there are parts that look worse and there are parts that look better. The Pokemon models clearly look better. Like and that's that's not on Game Freak. That's actually on Creatures Inc. They developed the Pokemon models and they went ahead and actually put in textures now, which is amazing. They look a lot better. But on the flip side, there are some things that kind of bother me. Like, for example, in previous games this was done. And this is a very simple thing, mind you. Like, basically, when you put a Pokemon to sleep, in previous games, you would see the eyelids close. Well, no, they don't do that anymore. And it really bothers me. Like, I put a Pokemon to sleep, and it's just, the eyelids are open. And it's blinking. That's the other part that bothers me. The animation already exists. It already has the animation to blink. So, if they have the animation to blink, why can't they just freeze it? Like,
I've heard on Twitter that there's actually sleeping animations for other things, like outside of battling, just not while you're battling, for some reason.
Yeah, it's.
I don't understand that.
It's very clear that pretty much every issue I'm complaining about, there are issues that are a product of the game being rushed.
Yeah.
And I don't blame Game Freak for this. I think they probably did an amazing job considering the amount of time they had. Honestly, like, it's still a good game. Like, don't get me wrong. I am complaining about a lot of things. I'm basically just saying that this could have been an amazing game, right? Like, because the core gameplay is still good. It's still there. It's still playable. It still works. But it's just kind of, like, unpolished in a lot of ways. And had they gone ahead with that polish, would have been better. A lot better. But anyways, we'll come back to
straight up rusty in some areas.
Yeah, we'll come back to this. I don't want to just continue to complain about glitches all night. But we'll come back to the Pokemon topic in a bit. I want to get through the chat here. So I see I have a super chat from Taker610. Thank you very much for the super chat, Taker. Taker says, I never went back to fight any of those really high level monsters near the beginning of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I rushed it on easy and completed it in 60-ish hours. Having Hope 5 only played the game for about 35 hours. Yeah, so I'm trying to remember how many hours I put into. I have to double check. I put more than 60 though. I'll say that. Although there were nights I just fell asleep with the game on and just kind of fell asleep to the beautiful music. So,
I'm already 75 hours in, but I've been trying to do almost everything. Like, there are still a few areas I could go back. There's like one hero quest that I know of that I still need to do. And then there's whatever I need to do in Chapter 7. There's a few other side quests, but basically, probably like 80% through the game. I bet you could probably 100% the game in less than 100 hours if you're fast.
Oh,
At least on normal
100%. Okay, I see what you're saying. Maybe. I mean, speedrunners can do all sorts of crazy things, so I don't doubt that.
Well, I don't even mean speedrunner. I just mean like generally not wasting time. Like,
if you skip cutscenes and you know what you're doing, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No.
I think just like a normal playthrough. Like honestly,
but it also depends what you define as 100%. Like, you mean like do every side quest?
I mean like everything. Like I could probably beat everything in the game as far as, unless there's like a ton of extra content after the game.
There is post game stuff.
I'm not aware of.
There is post game.
Okay. Minus post game, then maybe I could probably do it in less than 100 hours. Even now on my current pace.
All I know is that I feel like it's a very solid length game. Like I don't really have any complaints about the length.
In 100 hours is ridiculously long. Like I'm
already
75 hours in this game, and I feel like I've been playing it forever.
Yeah. Now the thing is, if you do skip a lot of the side quests and a lot of the blade quests, you'll lose a lot of story context.
The hero quest,
and the game will be faster.
Yeah,
and you'll also miss out a lot of areas.
Huge areas of the game you don't have to go to that have huge story important.
I mean, when you do that though, you miss out on really cool classes, really cool areas, really cool story scenes. Like you miss out on all of that. The game's still fine, a ton of stuff. But there's a lot out there if you actually take your time to explore Xenoblade 3. A lot. I haven't found everything yet, but I know whenever I go back, I find something new, which is pretty cool. Guy you don't know added me here. Hey there, did you see the leaked promotional images for the Super Mario Bros. Movie? I absolutely did.
Yes.
And I will tell you that we will not be sharing those in this stream. We will talk about them. We're going to talk about them.
Yeah, we can talk about
it. But I cannot put it on the stream because they were leaked images. And from what I can tell you, they look pretty real. So if I share them, there's a chance that the stream could be taken down. I could get in trouble, so I'm not going to do that.
It's not the first time promotional material for the game would have been leaked before trailer.
No, not at all. I will say this, though. If you want to find it, I did see it on Twitter. I liked a few images, so, if you go on Twitter and you follow me and you see what I may have been liking, you'll probably see it. So, but I'm not going to share them here. That said, they look cool. We're gonna dig into that in a little bit. I just want to kind of check in with the chat here, speak to a few people, answer a few questions, and then we'll start talking about the Mario movie, including those images. Celtic 14, Andres and Brandon with Mario movie tomorrow. Is it safe to say the Game Awards Zelda tease possibly? So, I mean, that's actually an interesting question because, in my predictions video, I was like, hey, it's either A, the Mario movie, or the Zelda trailer. Probably not both. So if we're getting this trailer, well then maybe we're getting the Zelda trailer at the Game Awards.
Because we're definitely not getting a Mario movie trailer there because we're getting one here.
I mean, they might reshow it.
I feel like that would be such a waste of a slot. It's not even a reveal if they're just showing the same thing. I mean, they do have ads during the thing. So it might be show up in like an ad, I guess. Yeah. But it's not like a world reveal for them. It doesn't count.
Is it possible that they still show something at the Game Awards from the Mario movie? It's just less. Like maybe it's more like a 30-second clip that shares elements that were already shown off in the first two trailers. I doubt it. How much
can you show off like it's a movie and it's only probably going to be like a little over an hour and a half, right? Like how much of this movie can you show before?
All right. Now, if you were following Dragon Ball Superhero leading up to its release, they did a great job of showing very little once per week. It's like, oh, you got a couple extra frames this time mixed in with old frames you shared before, and they were 15-second trailers that would drop like once per week, and like it was something, right? We looked at it, I was like, oh man, like that's. He's sitting down in a house. Holy crap. We haven't seen that before. Yeah. So, it could be that they do something like that at the Game Awards. I gotta tell you, like, yes, one of my first thoughts is, if we're gonna get the Mario movie trailer tomorrow, and that means they're probably skipping the Game Awards with that, so maybe they give us something Zelda. But it might just mean Nintendo has chosen to not really have anything major at the Game Awards, period. But they're giving us something around that time to sort of satisfy us in the same way, and we're not getting anything Zelda at the Game Awards.
Very possible.
I'm not sure how I feel about this. Like, I'm not sure if I feel more confident in there being something versus there not being something. Like,
I played devil's advocate here.
Go, no, just devil's advocate away. I'm gonna let my cat.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a good time to have trailers. We've seen every trailer we've seen from Tears of the Kingdom, I should say, has been short, like very short trailers that could easily fit into the Game Awards. In fact, shorter than the typical trailers that the presentations that they were in were showing. So it's not too wild for them to show another one. It seems about like a good time because they gotta hold us over. Because I don't think they're gonna show the game until like maybe February when they do another direct. And they might blow up the game there, but I think there could be. I feel like a nice time in between when we last saw it in September, I believe, and then when we will probably see it in like February. So they could slot in another little trailer there, another little tease. They've been teasing us the whole entire time with these small little trailers, so why don't they just give us another tease?
So you think? I'm sorry, I got distracted with my cat. So you're saying you think there would be a tease at the Game Awards, or no?
I'm just
think we wait till February?
I'm saying there could be. I think it would be very easy for them to do it because
how was that devil's advocate? I was also saying could be, but could be comes with the implication that it could also not be. Like
no.
Basically, I said half glass full. You said I said half. I said I'm gonna shut up. Continue on.
Anyways, we could see it.
Glass half empty, glass half full.
I honestly, I think. God, do I commit?
Commit.
You know, there's no need to commit here. There's no commitment yet. This isn't.
There's tons of pressure. Everyone in the chat is telling you to.
This isn't the Game Awards predictions. I don't have to commit quite yet. I got till next week.
I
guess answer that.
I didn't realize that
it's 10 days away. We'll have another podcast.
I have one podcast left before. I mean, I did my own predictions in a video, but it didn't even dawn on me that we should have like a Game Awards predictions podcast. I think we'll see how things pan out throughout the week. It may not even be like marketed as that or branded as that because, well, I don't know, man. This Game Awards, like based off last year. We shouldn't have a dedicated podcast for the Game Awards because there was nothing. There was just commercials, from what I remember. Maybe there was something, and I just don't. There could have been something small that I'm forgetting.
It was like very, very, very tiny game or something. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they may advertise the Mario Kart DLC, which comes out December 7th. You know. But like we already know what there is, so there's no surprises there. It's just, hey, here it is again, and they may re-advertise the Mario movie trailer again. Maybe they'll splice up. I think there's a chance we may get the Mario movie trailer shown off again, but it won't be. It'll just basically be what we like a compilation of what we've seen between the first and second trailers, maybe with a couple extra frames. Like that's possible that they do something like that.
You know, another reason why it makes more sense this year for a Tears of the Kingdom trailer versus prior years, because we actually have the name reveal this time and a release date. Like we know when it's going to come out. There's no more like, because before it was kind of like, why would they show it when we don't even know? We have like no idea when it's going to come out.
I'll tell you this.
Now we have an actual time.
And
it's probably going to win most anticipated game of next year, which may also be a reason they want to show it, because it's gonna win that, bro.
Are we sure about that?
You sure, bro? I'm pretty sure it's gonna win.
There's a lot of non-Nintendo fans at the Game Awards. I also feel like Nintendo hasn't done the best job of hyping Tears of the Kingdom, like so. I'm not sure. Like there's just not as much excitement as there was for say Breath of the Wild. I'm saying that now. That can change. Okay, I'm not trying to be a negative Debbie Downer here. I'm simply stating what I feel. Let me look at Pokemon Scarlet Violet. Like, the last week beforehand, things got really hyped because they started showing off Pokemon and stuff and leaks and then bullshit. And then here we are. Like, the game has sold astronomical numbers. But I don't know. I'll say that there's a rumor that there's going to be a couple announcements related to Nintendo at the Game Awards. That's the rumor. I heard that from Nintendo Prime.
That means 100% they're showing off the Switch 2. Revealed at the Game Awards. You heard it here first. No.
And probably last, because I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, last. Nobody is ever saying that.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. God, it's when he actually predicts that for real.
To me, this is kind of make or break for the Game Awards, at least in terms of me caring about it when it comes to Nintendo news. Because if we have a second year in a row where there's nothing, like, I can't afford to waste time on thinking about something that's probably not going to be there.
2 or 3 hours long too. I don't want to watch that.
No, I don't think I actually don't even plan on watching the Game Awards unless I hear something that's going to get me excited for it. I'm probably going to skip on the Game Awards, and I'm just going to be like aware of announcements. And if something comes up, I will I will talk about it immediately.
Maybe I'll have it on in the background while I do something else.
Yeah. We'll see. It
Depends on when it is. Even I might be at work.
Yeah, it is interesting that Nintendo is having this now. Like, why aren't they waiting until the Game Awards? Is it because, as I suggested earlier, that they just don't want to leave that to an outside venue to kind of showcase that? Like, maybe they want to give us more context, like explain a few more things. Like, this to me.
Well, they're not just dropping the trailer; they're doing a direct, so that's like interviews probably from a few of the cast members and stuff.
I feel like
they did last time.
Yeah, what they're doing is it's a controlled environment. It's why Nintendo likes doing the directs, right? They don't like relying on other media to kind of portray their content. They want to portray it the way they want to be portrayed. So it's a very controlled messaging. But also, it's kind of cool to hear from some of the actors. So with the first direct we heard from Jack Black and Chris Pratt. So maybe this time around we hear from maybe Peach and Luigi.
We haven't seen Donkey Kong, so we could hear from what's his name? So bad with names.
I'm starting to think Donkey Kong may not have that large of a role.
Perhaps.
We'll get to that. Let me continue on the chat here. We're like kind of diving into the topic, but I want to focus on chat for a little bit first. Let's see here. Ronnie Fazio, what star did you choose? I went with Fuecoco. I went with Spregatito because the cat reminded me of my cat. So I was like, all right, this is the year of the cat. So I went for the cat. And I do not have any regrets. I think Meowscarada is pretty cool. And even in its mid form was pretty cool. Florigato. I know some people were upset that it was on 2 legs. And I didn't want it to be on 2 legs before I saw what it became. I actually think it's a pretty good 2-legged starter. So I'm down with that. However, I have seen the final evolution for Fuecoco, and that one is pretty cool. So I kind of want that on my team as well. I haven't played Pokemon with anyone. So if anyone has any Fuecoco eggs they would like to trade me, let me know. Send me a message on Twitter or Discord. I need me a Fuecoco egg. But
nice.
Maybe I'll give you my water Terra type Eevee or something. Oh, I actually caught a Tinkatuff that has a rock Terra type, which I think is pretty cool.
Nice.
Because it's a steel fairy. So if someone tries to kill you with fire, you terrorize into a rock type and you resist it. So.
Yes, that is a thing that means things to people who play Pokemon.
It's a good defensive move. Anyways. Ray Day added me. What do you think about the terastalizing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? Well, I was just kind of talking about it. I actually think it's cool. I haven't gotten into the competitive scene yet, right? Because I'm still playing through the game. And once I play through the game, I'll probably start to look into some more competitive ideas. I'll say that, as I just mentioned, whenever I see like a Terra type Pokemon, I go for it. I catch it. It may be useful in the future. As I brought up, if you have a steel type that can die to fire, if you can terrorize into a rock type, that's a good defensive, terrorization. So I think that's cool. I also like the idea of Masahiro with its grass attack that's only 70 power, but it's always a critical hit, so it's actually always 105 power, and it doesn't miss, and because it's a crit, it bypasses defenses, which is also really good. And then if you account for stab, same type attack bonus, that's boosted by 1.5, but then if you terrorize, it's then boosted again by 1.5 if it's for grass. So that can then become really, really strong. And I actually am not even sure I would want to make a Protean form of Masahiro, just because I've seen that apparently Protean only sticks to one type. When it changes one time, you have to switch out to change to another type. So I might want to stick to, I believe, what's a grass dark, just like Choice Bandit, and just go for a really strong dark move or a really strong grass move, or like, you know, something else for coverage. Anyway, in terms of terastalizing, I think it's a cool mechanic. What I've noticed for the early parts of the game, like I said, I haven't gone to the competitive scene, it feels a lot weaker than Dynamaxing. Like, it's not as dominant of a mechanic. And again, you know, I haven't gone to the competitive scene, which is where it's going to really matter, so maybe there's some things I'm missing out on. I'm not saying it's not a strong mechanic. As I just noted, I can see how, like, being able to terastalize Masahiro could be really good. Or with Tinkatuff for its evolution. Like, there are ways it can be useful. It's definitely something that people are going to want to save and use. It's going to be it's going to be a constant of the meta, but it's not going to be something
more strategic.
Yeah, it's very strategic, but it's not completely dominating of the meta, I guess it is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not going to completely change everything. It's just like a really good move thing that it'll help, but it can go both ways. And like in Sword and Shield, if you Dynamax at the right time, it's over. So like you gain momentum because it builds up stats, and it's crazy. So this feels like a little bit less dominating of the meta. So I think that's a good thing. I think they did it on purpose. They probably realized that Dynamaxing was a little overpowered. So this feels like kind of going a little bit of the opposite direction, but it's still really cool, a lot of strategy. And it does offer up a lot more Pokemon to look for, because like now every Pokemon can have one of 18 different Terra types. And with the 1,000+ Pokemon that now exist, now not all of them are in the game, but still a lot are under the different forms. Now they could each have a different type of Terra type. That's a whole bunch of other Pokemon to search for. Now you can change a Pokemon's Terra type. You don't have to catch it just to be able to use that Terra type, but it's harder that way. Anyways, I think it was a smart move to go in this direction. It's actually something I predicted. I said they would do something like this, but you know, whatever. It just makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, what they do in the next generation, I don't know. Maybe start bringing in some of the old ones and fusing them and coming up with nonsense. Moving on. JD Chainsaw, I actually just got Arceus. Maybe by the time I finish it, Scarlet and Violet will be patched and I'll pick it up then. I do feel like they gotta patch this game. There's too many issues. It's not even just like little weird things that can break your immersion, as I mentioned earlier, but some things with the actual gameplay mechanics. So recently, I saw, yesterday actually, that you can, there's a way in only Battle Stadium, so not in the normal parts of the game, but Battle Stadium, which I think is for like multiplayer. If you use Fake Out, which causes Pokemon to flinch, and then you use an OHKO move like Fissure and Sheer Cold, it will not miss. The reason this is terrible is because those moves are 30% accuracy. 30% accurate. That's really bad. But the thing is, that move lands, it just kills a Pokemon no matter what. It does unlimited damage. It's automatic KO.
Damn.
So 30% accurate bounces that out. It's not a viable move at 30% accuracy most of the time. However, because of some weird issue with the RNG right now, just in Battle Stadium, you can make it so it's always 100% after a Fake Out. That is stupid. Like, it's cool.
That's kind of broken.
Like, it's broke. It's not supposed to be that way. That's a mistake.
Yeah.
And that comes back to, they were rushing this game. They did not do a lot of testing and debugging. Like, they did not do that. They really didn't.
Clearly not.
And that's where now. So I do believe there's going to be patches. I hope they just come sooner than later. Yeah. Ronnie Fazio added me here. There are many moments in Scarlet Violet where I wish it did have voice acting. An example is the cave segment at the beginning of the game with Koraidon and Nemona. Honestly, all the main cutscenes should have voice acting. Like they should, I think, because something that Scarlet and Violet seem to have over a lot of previous games is the story's good. Like there's touching moments, there's impactful moments, there's cool characters. They really had some solid plot lines in this game from what I've personally seen so far, and from what I've heard from other people. If only it was...
I haven't seen people dogging on the story like I did with Sword and Shield. Like, even I'm not a Pokemon guy, so I'm not even in the Pokemon circles. But even my Twitter was just dominated by people like just talking trash about the story moments in Sword and Shield. I haven't seen any of that for Scarlet Violet. At the very least, Twitter seems happy.
Yeah, I didn't care too much about the story for Sword and Shield. It was just kind of okay, it exists. All right, thanks.
I kept hearing that things happen off screen and that you didn't get to see a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, if you want me to be totally honest with you, I just feel like they cut corners with the story and from Sword and Shield. Like it's not something I really gave too much thought to because I didn't really have high expectations for his story. But to your point about some things happening off screen, like they could have done a better job with the direction they went in, and it does feel like they could have put more detail, more love and depth into what they created. And I feel like it ultimately just comes down to Game Freak is being forced to come out with new generations every 3 years and make games in between those 3 years, and they're just not being given enough time to make a full-on proper game. So I mean,
they want to make something like an open world, and they want it to rival something like Xenoblade or Breath of the Wild, which have far longer development
times. It's just straight up not possible. It's not possible. And people can say, oh, you just get a bigger team. That's not how... Because you got to understand that a team is a team. There has to be a cohesive vision across the team. It needs to be overseen. It needs to work together. So when you do things separately, yeah, it can work, but there is a breaking point. And the larger the team, the harder it is to have that connected effort. So just throwing more money at something isn't always the answer, is my point. So, you know, really, I think what needs to happen is that they just need to have longer development cycles. Even just 1 year. Change it to four-year gaps. And you can still have games in between. Like we have the Legends series now. You can outsource remakes. We have the DLC. Like there's a way to still have that annual content. Like you can still mooch off of us, but you can do it in a smarter way where the quality of the games don't have to take a hit. So I think there's a way to make this work.
They need to be actually like focused, like their whole team on one game for the full 4 years, pretty much. Because I feel like at this point they're dividing their attention. They got like 3 years. They're not even fully focusing their entire studio onto like the one project because they got multiple projects that all need to come out, and it's too much. It's like you need dedicated teams for each thing.
So they're doing a good job of
they need to be bigger.
Like we're playing Game Freak games at least once per year and enjoying it. So like, you know, they're not giving us a game of the year every year or every 3 or 4 years, but they are giving us a fun game that we buy with our money and play every year. Most companies can't do that. So, you know, it is kind of like a quantity versus quality thing right now. Because I'm still buying the games. And I've kind of made it my job too. So, you know, there's that.
Yeah.
But like for the masses, I mean, the sales are still there. So look, we'll come back to this. I want to stick to the chat. I just really want to get to the chat. We're going to talk about Pokemon more. But yeah, I mean, the basic sentiment is have a longer window, please, Game Freak. Or rather, it's not Game Freak's fault, it's Pokemon Company's fault, but you know. J.R. Tolkien, weekly restart. I knew you were a man of good sense. You're the one that came up with the idea, the weekly restart. I think it's actually going to stick. So I don't know if it's going to become a part of the official branding, but at least unofficially, I really like it. We'll see if I fit it into like the titling or something. We'll at least say, hey, it's the weekly restart. So, you know, J.R. Tolkien, give him props. He's the one who gave me the idea. Wario's cousin, is Brandon in a hammock? I asked him that last week. I did. I thought it was a hammock as well. It's actually just a curtain, and he's sitting against it.
A curtain.
Yeah. See, I'm not crazy.
That'd be pretty dope.
I'm not the only person that thought
The funny thing is, I own a hammock. It's in my front yard.
You should do that.
Actually, I think we moved it, but I did have a hammock out there.
You know, it'd be cool if at one point we do a podcast, but like it's like in a place together. We're like under a gazebo and we're each on a hammock, just like with a mic in our hand, just like swinging. That'd be cool. Anyways, in the future. Moving on. Big Man added me. Well, it didn't add me, but I see you're asking here. Do you think a Mario movie trailer at the Game Awards would reach more people than the Direct?
Probably not. The Directs do very, very well.
Well, the Mario movie, I think, was trending at #1 for a little bit. The first trailer. So probably. I think regardless of where it's shown, it's gonna millions upon millions of people are gonna watch it repeatedly. Yeah. So I don't know if it really matters, to be quite frank. If anything, maybe you could argue that having it at the Game Awards might take away from its sort of spotlight a little bit. And if anything, maybe that's why they've opted to do it in this way, because they know the Mario movie is going to attract enough attention. They know people are going to, and maybe that's the difference. Like, they don't need to get new people to know about it. They just want to show more. I don't know. Because it's all about perspective. Because you can interpret it in two different ways. You can interpret it in one way of, oh, well, there's less distraction, so people could just focus on the Mario movie. But then the other hand, if you just have it at the Game Awards, people who weren't intending on watching anything related to Mario will see that trailer and be like, oh, that looks pretty good.
Slightly different audience that will see it, because there's a lot of non-Nintendo fans that watch the Game Awards. In fact, I'd say it's probably the Game Awards culture is definitely more non-Nintendo, I would say.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why I'm not as committed to Breath of the Wild 2. I mean, Tears of the Kingdom being most anticipated game. I don't think it's that. I don't know. And also, not only do I feel like there's not enough Nintendo fans there,
Starfield might win.
I also feel
like
it
won last year.
Yeah,
it's not fair.
And then it's that, and then it's also the issue of I don't think Nintendo's done a great job of hyping us up for Tears of the Kingdom so far. So I don't think the hype is there right now. And it could be one of those things where I just don't have a good feel of the pulse of that. Right, like for example,
it's more hype now than there was this year. At least we have like a confirmed release date. We know it's going to come out.
Yeah. People at least know it's happening
pretty soon too. So it's not like it's a long ways off.
I just think we need to have like a big 3-minute trailer that like blows our socks off. We haven't had that yet.
Yeah, 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know if that happens at Game Awards. Because they tend to be shorter.
I would like to see another tease, though.
But to go back to Big Man's question about the Mario movie reaching out more people at the Game Awards over the Direct, it's a tough call, because I know that trailer is probably going to be top of the trending. It's going to get millions of views. Will it get more than the first trailer? Probably not.
I think it would honestly probably do better in a Direct, where it's a smaller thing that people can share around much easier rather than having to like clip.
I think the advantage live stream. The advantage of doing the directs is they can have those moments where we hear from the voice actors as well, and I think that's the advantage of doing the direct. So now obviously the direct's gonna happen, then people are gonna just take the trailer, clip that out, and then share that, and people won't see. Not everyone's gonna hear from the voice actors themselves, but doing the direct will afford them the opportunity to at least have a little bit of that. I don't know. I'm definitely a little divided on if there will still be something at the Game Awards for the Mario movie. I think one thing I think is fair to say, though, I think at the very least the chances of it have gone down. Like, it's definitely less likely now than beforehand.
Way less likely.
Yeah. Game walkthroughs out of me. When do you think we'll get the Zelda ports? Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. At this point, I think that's a really tough call. I think
knows?
it's definitely not happening before the release of Tears of the Kingdom. I think we're looking at it's probably not coming until 2024, 2025, maybe later. It's really, because the thing is, like, because at that point we're going to get we'll have Nintendo's next system. I know I'm arguing for 2023 with the video I uploaded today. Check that out, guys. But I'm also totally, aware that it may not come out next year, maybe 2024. And I guess the point I'm trying to bring up with that is that with a new system comes a slightly different ecosystem. And it's going to be kind of hard to predict when there'll be openings there, right? And if we're talking about a next generation system, do we really want to be talking about getting ports of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD? Like, those are games that aren't going to really showcase the power of the hardware. Now, if they're being done in 4K, that'll be nice. It won't. The games probably won't look that much better because they are what they are. But
Twilight Princess might look better because it doesn't have any anti-aliasing at all in the original version, and it's a more like high frequency, as we were saying a couple weeks ago, a texture game. So there's definitely a lot more aliasing in that game compared to like Wind Waker, which is a lot cleaner. So it might help in that aspect, but yeah, it's not going to be like a radical change or anything.
I think changing them to 60 frames per second will probably be the bigger deal.
It would be a much better deal. I really hope that eventually when these ports come, they do come at 60. Like Skyward Sword at 60 was a revelation. I've played that when I went over to my siblings' house because they have the game. I didn't bother buying it because I played it so much already.
Yeah.
But it did genuinely feel a lot better control at 60, and just seeing Zelda at 60 is just so nice. Especially with that, it's so easy to run those old games at 60 now. So it's just like, just do it, please.
Now, I'll say this. It's an idea I've had that kind of makes sense. So when you take a look at what happened to the 3DS when the Switch was out, you look at the content that was coming out for the 3DS in the years between 2017 and 2019. Those last years, what we saw were a lot of remakes and remasters on the 3DS. A lot of like scaled down ports and things of that nature. So when we think about that, Nintendo might adopt a similar strategy with the Switch and what the next system is. Now, I do believe it's going to be a little different. I think it's going to be a much more of a smoother transition because any game coming out for Switch, they're still going to want to be relevant on Switch 2. I'm actually kind of anticipating that they're even going to use the same cartridge. Could be wrong on that. We'll see how things go down. This is what the essentially comes out next year.
I doubt that they would need to change the cartridges because they haven't even used the 64 gigabyte cartridges that are available on Switch. Like, they're not even using those yet. So I would imagine they would just use the same cartridges. Why not?
Yeah, I feel like when the system is shown off, like there's gonna be a debate if it's actually a next generation or just more like a mid-gen refresh. But people are gonna have the debate. It's gonna be kind of like the debate.
The power levels will show for themselves.
Sure,
that it's
I agree with that. But what's gonna happen is, remember when Smash Ultimate was revealed and people were like, "Oh, it's just a port." Oh, yeah. Like, it's gonna be that sort of situation where, like, some people are just gonna believe that just because. But there is gonna be some level of. I guess the point is that the transition is not gonna be as harsh compared to previous generational transitions. But the ultimate point I'm actually getting at here is that I do feel like Nintendo may be more focused on bringing back remasters and ports and remakes that the Switch will be able to handle as they slowly transition support over to their next system. It's going to happen over the course of a few years. But eventually they're going to have to wean people off the Switch. So I do feel like that window, right, between, assuming the game system comes out next year, it could be the year after, but starting either 2023 or 2024 for about 2 or 3 years, I think there will be a window where we will see maybe an increased amount of remasters and enhanced ports that the Switch will be able to run, but there'll be like a 4K version on the Switch too, and there's going to be a lot of games like that, and that could be the window where we see things like a Twilight Princess and a Wind Waker HD. But then other things we've heard about, like, for example, the Kid Icarus Uprising port that we're hearing about, or the F-Zero GX one that was rumored not too long ago, or maybe even Metro Prime HD that's supposedly real. Like, so there's all these games that we know about that haven't been announced yet. And all of these games could come out in that 2 to 3 year period. so they can come out on both systems. It's something the Switch can run, but it'll look better on the Switch 2 in 4K, and they will help to sort of ease the transition over to the next system. So yeah, I feel like within the next 3 years we could probably see it. I understand that's not like me saying, "Hey, it's coming out tomorrow," but like, you know, I'm just kind of being real with you, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we kind of missed the boat because they should have come out before Tears of the Kingdom, and now that we're getting Tears of the Kingdom,
It really should have come out in like 2018, 2019.
Sure. But, you know, we're going to get DLC for Tears of the Kingdom probably. And then at some point they got to give us a new 2D Zelda, right? Or maybe they give us like an actual new remake of something, like a remake of the Minish Cap or Four Swords, or not Four Swords, but Oracle of Ages and Seasons, like
Oracle of Ages Seasons, yeah.
Or just a straight up new 2D Zelda. Like there's all that. Maybe another
Would
Zelda
love
spin-off.
a new 2D Zelda.
Yeah.
We haven't had a new one since Link Between Worlds, which was like probably my favorite 2D Zelda. So I would love a new one. I think they could do a lot with a new 2D Zelda.
Oh yeah, for sure. Point is that, you know, I feel like we've missed the boat, so we're gonna have to wait a few more years, unless Nintendo has like some sort of like GameCube, like virtual console effort or something.
Wouldn't be those versions either. It'd just be the GameCube versions.
Right. So I think within the next 3 years, hopefully sooner. Okay, JD Chainsaw, there won't be any Nintendo announcements, but the Mario movie trailer will play again as one of the commercials in the Game Awards. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, we were talking about that earlier as a possibility. It could totally happen.
Yeah. Diego Z. Castro, when do you think Nintendo will start proper marketing for Tears? Good question. I think
proper marketing, probably in the next Direct. I mean, they might tease something at the Game Awards, but that's not going to start their proper marketing for it. Even if they do, it probably won't be until they actually blow it out.
Yeah, I think the latest, the absolute latest we start hearing about Tears of the Kingdom, to Brandon's point, is a Direct in February. I don't think we wait much long. I think that's like the absolute latest before Nintendo starts to really, you know, open the floodgates on Tears of the Kingdom news, unless the game's getting delayed.
I could totally see them having a February Direct, having a trailer that does like a big blowout thing, but then also announcing Zelda specific Direct in like March or something. So they show off like a big amount, but then they also have like a deep dive Direct the next month. So I could see that. Something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe not those specific dates.
Yeah.
There's wiggle room
now,
there, but
something that I'm throwing out there, because it relates to the video I, again, uploaded earlier today. But, you know, I talked about maybe Tears of the Kingdom launches with the next generation Switch this May. Again, you know, I'm going to stress that I don't know if that's happening. It's just a possibility. Maybe the Switch 2 comes out the year afterwards. But if it does launch alongside Tears of the Kingdom in May, they probably want to announce that in January. So if they announce that in January, conceivably, I could see Nintendo start to make the Tears of the Kingdom push alongside Switch 2 at the same time in January. Probably sort of like, you know, advertising, oh, Zelda in 4K 60 FPS or something like that, which would be amazing.
That'd be so cool.
It'd be really cool, right?
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know, they could do that. And again, you know, Game Awards is another opportunity for to have a Zelda trailer. So this is how I kind of see it, right? I think for sure we're getting news for Tears of the Kingdom in February with a Direct. If we don't, it's because by February, I think it's more proper wording, because while there could maybe not be a Nintendo Direct until March, I don't think they can go that long without giving us Tears of the Kingdom news. So
I don't think they'll wait for a general Direct till March.
Probably not. I think it'll be February, as it has been the last couple of years, but we have seen years where they did do it in March. But my point simply is that they won't wait until March, like less than 2 months away, before the release of Tears of the Kingdom to start talking about it. So we'll get news for Tears of the Kingdom at the latest by March, as you said. But I think if there is a plan to release new hardware with Tears of the Kingdom in May, I think there'll be some sort of announcement for that, and we'll start to see some advertising for Tears of the Kingdom alongside this system in January, if it's happening. If the new system's if the new system's not coming out next year, then it probably won't. Well, if it's not coming out in May, it won't be shown. it won't be shown off in January. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
a possibility there. And then also there is a chance they have a trailer at the Game Awards, but I don't think we're gonna get a trailer at the Game Awards and all of a sudden we start hearing about Tears of the Kingdom every week. But I think maybe we could get a trailer at the Game Awards, but I'm not. I feel like I'm not even at 50% right now. Like I'm like at 40-30% that like we get a Tears of the Kingdom trailer. So maybe something will happen in this coming week where my hope will improve on that. But I just kind of feel like based off the way Nintendo handled things last year, and now with this direct that they're doing for the Mario movie, it's almost kind of like they're like, yeah, screw the Game Awards. We're just gonna show you stuff when we want to show you, and we don't care about when the Game Awards happens. Like that's how it kind of feels right now. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact with the relationship that Nintendo has with the Game Awards. I think now that Reggie's gone, that communication between Reggie and Jeff Keighley isn't there. And since then, we have noticed a difference. So, I don't know. Definitely a chance we still get Tears of the Kingdom news, but I think it's not super likely.
No, I wouldn't say it's super likely either.
It's not like... I'm not saying it's like...
It's not super unlikely.
Right, yeah.
It's not like...
Yeah, like, I said 30-40. Like, 40 is almost 50, but, like, I'm not... that's kind of where I'm at.
50-50. Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. D.E. Fox. Food for thought. Sonic is more polished and functional than Pokemon. Probably, yeah. I haven't played Sonic, but...
Probably. I do think Sonic... Well, I mean... Sonic has kind of a lot of the similar issues with Scarlet and Violet in some ways. For example, like the pop-in is really bad in both of those, which it kind of affects the gameplay because you can just run into Pokemon that just pop in front of you almost. I've seen that a lot on Twitter. And that's kind of like Sonic. You're trying to go like super fast, but like there's just platforms popping in not that far away, which can seem really mess you up in your gameplay as well. So I feel like they're kind of, in some ways, on a similar level, but other than the Switch version of Sonic Frontiers, which honestly still looks better than Scarlet and Violet, it's not like a technically incompetent game for the most part other than that. So I would say Scarlet and Violet's probably still worse. Also, it doesn't have like major glitches and stuff that I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't played Sonic, so but I will also say I feel that Scarlet and Violet may be the least polished Pokemon games we've ever seen.
It may be the least polished AAA game I've ever seen.
I'm sorry.
Not even joking that much.
I play. At some point, we're gonna have to revisit this concept of what a AAA game even is. So
yeah,
I don't know if I would even put Pokemon in that category. So
I mean, just like I guess in terms of its development size, it's not a AAA studio. Like they go for they're one of the biggest franchises in the world, right? And they're going for a lot more high concept games.
Let me ask you a
technically
question.
They're not really a AAA.
Let me ask you this question:
studio.
Would you have called them a AAA when they were making games for 3DS?
I would say for 3DS, yes. At 3DS standards, yeah. It's just like it depends. Like I guess I'm not using AAA correctly. I'm just meaning like A tier, like top tier games, like flagship titles. Like Nintendo advertises Pokemon as like their big holiday game, right?
So I just did a quick Google search of what AAA development means. In the video game industry, a AAA studio is a mid-sized or major game publisher with a more robust development and marketing budget than other tiers of studios to produce, usually higher selling retail AAA games. So
I would definitely say Pokemon falls under that then. And then by extension, then my statement as it is the most unpolished AAA game I've ever seen is pretty close. It's at least one of them. I think there's probably some other ones that people could point out, I'm sure.
Cyberpunk's pretty bad.
Cyberpunk?
Like there were actual refunds for Cyberpunk that were Like, I think that the refunds that people are talking about for Scarlet and Violet are being a little overblown. There are mass refunds for Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
Like, that was a worse situation, seemingly.
Turn off my Wi-Fi real quick. I think my Wi-Fi is having issues. There we go. Switched over to cellular. Anyways, yeah, I heard most of what you're saying. So Cyberpunk, yeah, I got like mass refunds because the game like barely worked. But honestly, I don't think Scarlet and Violet is a ton better. Like, you could play Cyberpunk. It was perfectly playable. Like, the game worked. It had frame rate issues. There was popping and glitches. There was weird stuff. But just like Scarlet and Violet, the game worked. Like, the core gameplay was still good. It functioned on those consoles. It ran probably just as good as Scarlet and Violet does most of the time. Maybe a bit worse in some areas. And there might have been a few more glitches, but honestly, it's not like Scarlet and Violet is a far cry from what...
I haven't verified this information,
is.
right? But Charles Trudell in the chat just added me and said that Cyberpunk last gen was refundable in the 5+ millions, while Pokemon is around 300,000. I don't know where those numbers are coming from. If Charles, if you could like point me in the direction to look that up, I would gladly do so. But I don't know. Here, Jesse saying Cyberpunk crashed a heck of a lot. I haven't had.
That is true. There was like crashes.
Yeah,
that was another problem with the game.
The problem here is
it was worse than that aspect.
So, problem here is we're kind of basing our opinions purely off like anecdotal evidence. Like, we need hard numbers here, you know. Like, I could say, oh well, you know, based off my memory, more people complained about Cyberpunk 2077 than Pokemon. And it may be the case that I did see more criticism for Cyberpunk versus Pokemon, but that's my social bubble. There are other social bubbles out there. There are people who don't speak up about these issues. Like, it's, you know, vocal minorities all over the place. It's
social media is not really a good place to get an indication of like what the real world actually thinks of things. Yeah. It's very much just the Twitter bubble or the Facebook bubble or whatever community you're in. It's like their little bubble,
right? So
information.
I don't know how bad it is. Charles Trudell just added me. Okay, Nintendo Prime did a worst case scenario concerning all people complaining online. We're around 400,000 people read it, another after checking like everywhere. Okay, still not sure what that means. And now Cyberpunk, we are confirmed 7+ million refund after release. That's a lot. Yeah. Oh, this is Ruby. Say hello to everyone, Ruby.
Yeah. They were a lot more official with the refunds too. Nintendo's just kind of like sweeping this under the rug that they're doing any refunds at all. Like CD Projekt Red put out a statement on Twitter like we're gonna refund everything. They took it off of the store. Like, it was a big deal. Because then, like, I feel like if Pokemon released on other systems, it would have also gotten taken off the store. I feel like on any other store than Nintendo, like, this would not have been acceptable. And honestly, any other franchise other than Pokemon, nobody would have bought this. Like, the fact is, it blows my mind that it sold as much as it did, because there's literally no other franchise that could get away with half of the issues that this game has. Like, people, like, there's no way that any other... It wouldn't happen. Like, if Breath of the Wild came out and it had glitches like this and it ran and looked like this, there's no way anybody would ever give that a pass. It absolutely blows my mind. I don't understand why the Pokemon community is more accepting than others. Like, I understand the gameplay is good, but there's other games with good gameplay that aren't broken as hell. Like, if I chose to play Cyberpunk 2077 on the Xbox One back in the day, it's like, nope, I'd rather play this than any other game. It's like, sure, the game might be good, but it can't be that good, bro.
It's just one of those things where, like, you have an opinion, and that's your opinion, but you're not a Pokemon fan, right? Like, you're not a Pokemon fan, and you're very, like, tech-focused person, right? So
I'm just being objective about the performance of the game.
I think it's bad. I do. I really do.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
Like it's horrible. Like it's not even just a little bad. Like it's absolutely mind-boggling how bad it is.
But like, so this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, though. Like, do we have like a number that tells us how bad it is? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know.
Like you're basically just giving me your opinion. Oh, it's horrible. But what is horrible? How do we quantify that? And that's kind of my issue.
The game doesn't work. It does not look good. It does not run good. There are performance numbers that you can look at. Like the game does not. It's not clearly is not acceptable levels of quality.
This is what I will concede. I do not think the game fits the Nintendo quality standard.
No. I don't think Nintendo would ever put their seal of approval on a game like this.
Well, I don't know.
Well, maybe not ever, but...
The problem is this Pokemon Company, right? Like, yes, Nintendo owns Pokemon, but Pokemon Company also owns Pokemon. So it's a little bit of a... It's a little complicated.
An EAD team would never come out with something that would look like this.
Yeah. But let's move on. Let's now jump into the discussion on the actual Mario movie Direct. So we are getting this Direct tomorrow, right? It's happening, it's coming. And all right, Ruby, I need you to move. You're distracting me. You're in front of the screen. You're amazing. I love you, but you need to go over here. Okay? Good girl. Okay. All right. So, Jesse, I agree. I think Brand just needs to try the game.
No.
Yeah. Brand's gonna fall in love with it. He's gonna play it without telling me. He's like, oh my god, I'm never gonna tell him I like it because it's complete garbage.
I'm sure if I play the
but
game,
I can't stop
enjoy
playing it.
I mean, there's enjoyment that can be had out of even the worst of games.
Yeah.
I'm sure the game itself isn't that bad. I just don't think I could get over how broken it is.
There are issues, but let's move on. So we're getting that Mario movie Direct tomorrow. It's gonna be a trailer. What do you think this trailer will entail?
I think it's definitely gonna have to show off a lot more main characters, right? Like we need to see a lot more of the cast here. We need to see what's up with Donkey Kong and Peach. I mean, we see Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Toads. We got a few in there, but there's definitely a lot more we haven't seen. There's Cranky Kong's gonna be in it, right? There's the Donkey Kong characters need to be shown. We need to know like what's up with. We've seen the promotional art. We can see like a little bit of the city that Mario comes from, which is like a Brooklyn street sign, which is strange because Brooklyn's not a street, but this is just a cool reference there, I guess.
Yeah, we have confirmation that it's like Brooklyn. I mean, it looks like Brooklyn. I'm actually looking at an image of it now. I can't share this with you guys, by the way, because this will be leaked. But again, if you go on Twitter,
sure you can find it anywhere.
Yeah, if you check things I've interacted with, you'll probably see it. But yeah, it looks good. It looks good. You see like Mario and Luigi standing in front of this little yellow like van. It says Super Mario Bros. Plumbing. It looks awesome, honestly. We even see a small snippet. If you look in the corner by the barber shop, it looks like Pauline is there, which is really cool. And if this is like definitely like a pseudo realistic world, still like animated, sort of like Pixar sort of style looking, animation style looking characters. But yeah, this looks like Brooklyn. Like I can even see like a bridge in the background, a water tower, a few water towers actually, realistic looking cars. It's cool stuff. But there's more we've seen. There's actually like a poster that shows off Peach, which we did sort of saw a leak of her face like initially. So that's there. We see another look at Luigi, who looks just terrified. I guess they're just kind of hardcore going like Luigi's just a scaredy cat, but Peach looks cool. I like how Peach looks. She's got she looks like Peach, but there's like definitely
Head's
like a little
big.
Her what?
Her head looks big for her body.
You think so? I mean, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think her head's any bigger than compared to Mario or Luigi. I would say it's smaller than theirs. She's definitely like
Probably
on the cute. She's definitely like on the cuter side. Like, I don't know if you guys know about this, but our heads don't really change too much in size from when we're babies. It's just our our head to body ratio that changes. So I think, if I remember the numbers correctly, I think as a baby, our head to body ratio is 1:3, and I think it turns to 1:7 when we're adults, something like that, give or take a number or two. So what you'll find a lot with animation, with cartoon characters, you'll notice that their bodies are kind of small compared to their heads. And the idea behind it is to make them look cute, because for us, instinctively, when we see a character that has a head that's, about 1:3, 1:4 to the body size, we recognize that innately as, oh, that's like a young creature, a young character, like a baby, right? So instinctively, we kind of think it's cute, and we won't care about it, want to protect it. So in animation, you see that very often when you want to depict kind of cute characters. So it makes things feel more lighthearted. Meanwhile, you see Bowser, and, well, Bowser's like body to head ratio might be like 1:20. So yeah, it's definitely different.
I like the designs though. I think they look good. It's we've seen Luigi already, but he's kind of like running around.
Yeah,
see him like in like
we
promotional or just standing.
Big look at him.
His head is definitely like, and you see him like standing next to Mario in some of the promotions. His head is like much skinnier, obviously, than Mario's. He's not that much taller, I would say.
All right, now there is something I can share.
He's not that much thinner.
This is the shot. Jesus, kitty.
Mario's not really as thick as he usually is in this movie, I feel. I mean, people already talk about how they stole Mario's ass, but I feel like just in general, like he's usually much thicker than Luigi. I feel like he's not that much.
Move. I'm trying to do stuff here. Move. You need to go down. You need to go down, okay? Or at least on my lap. Just stay on my lap. All right. Very good. Okay, so I'm gonna share with you this image here that Nintendo released, so I can share this. There we go. So that should be visible. This image, I think, looks really freaking cool. Like, this is how I kind of want the actual, like, next-gen Mario to look. Looks amazing. You can see the throne room. You can see the stained glass, like, iconic Peach window. It's right there. Like, this is clearly inside Peach's castle. If you look closely in the back bottom level, there are paintings against the wall. I'm gonna have to kind of zoom in later to analyze them more closely, but like you see one. Actually, I want to see if I can get a closer look at them now.
Hey man, I see the one on the left looks like it's got mushrooms. It looks like, I forget the name of this world. I don't think it's Big Little World. I think it's like one of the mountain ones.
Hopefully get a little bit more of a bigger look here. So
I recognize that. I just forget what's called.
So we see 4 images, right? The ones that are close to the middle seem just to be some sort of like design that also might even be around the round wall part here. But there's 2 paintings on the left and right that I can sort of see something. The right side, it looks like a mushroom forest where there's the giant yellow mushroom there.
Completely different than anything we've seen from previous Mario
if anything,
stuff.
It kind of reminds me of what we see in the first trailer at the beginning where Mario and Toad are in a mushroom forest. This one here...
The left side's got more traditional Mario-looking mushrooms, though.
I feel like there might...
It looks like one of the Mario 64 worlds, almost.
Maybe, yeah. I wonder if that's like Peach.
I doubt it is, because the other one's completely unrelated. So I imagine this one just kind of looks related because it's blurry and
I
out
wonder
of
if I could
focus.
like zoom in more. If that'll help enhance.
I'm zooming in real far, bro, on mine, and it's just there's just it all it is film grain at that point in colors.
Well, I mean,
It's
sometimes
not
you
really
can make
much more
out a
detail.
little bit better, but
A little bit, but it's hard, bro.
yeah,
I can't tell what anything is in
I'm
that.
looking here. All I can tell is that, like, at first I thought that this might have been like Peach, but now I'm not so sure. There's definitely a mushroom there. Okay, stop! Though, do not step on the keyboard. You're starting to annoy me now. That's
But
Ruby.
the quality of this
Yeah.
render is just absolutely fantastic. Like, you say a next gen Mario, but this is like 3 generations away, bro. This is insane how good this looks.
Stop hurting my feelings. I know
It's absolutely gorgeous, though.
Yeah. It is very gorgeous. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I don't think there's really much more we can kind of figure out from there. There's cloud stained glass windows. Woo!
Woo!
The Peach one looks really good. We can see the star here. You can take a look at the throne. It's a throne. It's like a
It's very throny.
Throne chair. Yeah. That's kind of it. I don't think there's really much more to take from this. The fact, besides it just looking like really good. Like
Yeah.
it's just a good-looking shot. It's got like realistic lighting, I guess, and
Yeah, they're clearly using a ray tracing.
it looks like you got marble columns that like shine. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they're using ray tracing for the whole movie, so it's like
Man,
not
like
real
what
time,
if,
obviously,
what if,
like offline rendered.
What if the next Mario game looked a little bit like this, though? Like, what if?
I mean, technically, if they decide to use Unreal Engine 5 and the Switch actually supported ray tracing and CPUs capable of pushing nanite and lumen features that Unreal Engine 5 supports, then it could make something that looks sort of like this at a lower quality.
Well, can't even the base Switch technically run Unreal Engine 5? Or some sort
Yes,
of
but
version of
it doesn't support... It runs essentially the Unreal Engine 4 backwards compatible stuff for Unreal Engine 5. So it's essentially none of the new features from Unreal Engine 5. It just supports all the Unreal Engine 4 features that were... Yeah.
Okay.
Even the Xbox Series S struggles with Unreal Engine 5 when it actually uses the next-gen features.
Okay.
So a lot of Series S games don't even have ray tracing, even though the Series X ports or versions might. But, you know, maybe a generation after, the Switch 3 could definitely do some big ray tracing stuff, maybe.
I might not even be around then. I mean, I probably will be.
You're gonna be dead and gone by then in the dust.
Or 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
You're gonna be like in your 30s or something. Are you even gonna be... You're gonna be like a skeleton, bro.
Yeah. I'm already in my 30s. I started recently.
Oh. Yeah, you did just turn 30, didn't you? I forgot you turned,
I turned 31, actually.
What? That's insane.
Yeah.
My memory is so bad.
That's okay. Guy you don't know. Hopefully Chris Pratt will sound more fitting for Mario in the upcoming trailer. The 2 lines we've heard from him so far haven't given the best first impression. Yeah, I mean, you know, we'll see. We're going to probably hear more from Mario tomorrow, which is exciting. And we'll have a little bit more of a sample size there. I'm very curious how the discussion will change. But it's going to be fun just to see, you know, where they're headed with it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because I do think the little bit that we heard of Mario was not indicative of how he's actually going to sound most of the time. Because he was doing very, like, quiet, like, confused lines for most of it. And then just, like, the one line where he's, like, at the very end, I forget exactly what he says, but he's more enthusiastic line. You kind of hear the accent. But even that, it's like, we haven't hear like a full conversation or him having any actual like real enthusiasm behind his voice or anything. So it's like been very muted what he's been saying. So I think even for the actors we have heard, the range we have not heard yet.
Yeah. So I want to get to like some sort of speculation as to what content we're going to see tomorrow. I think we're going to hear from both the voice actors, with Anna Joy Taylor for Peach, and what's his name?
Joe Rogan?
No,
not Joe Rogan.
Luigi.
What's his name?
Something Day. Charlie Day.
Charlie Day.
Yeah, I think we're gonna hear from them. Peach Peach, and then Luigi. I think we're gonna hear from both of them tomorrow. That's just my personal speculation based off of what we're seeing from the leaked promotional material. Because we've heard Bowser, we've heard Mario, we've heard Toad, and they're in the promotional material. But the other two characters that are prominent in the promotional material is Luigi and Peach, and we haven't heard anything from Peach. We haven't seen Peach at all. I think we're gonna see Peach tomorrow. I mean, I think the Peach one seems kind of obvious because they're literally showing the throne room.
Yeah.
With the Peach stained glass. So I think that's kind of like the obvious sort of
and the new promotion material has her in it.
Yeah.
Like a lot more.
Exactly.
So it's like, you gotta show her.
Even if we don't get Luigi, we're for sure seeing something about Peach tomorrow. Like that I feel really confident in. So we're gonna get to see a little bit more of her. I do want to see
Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
I want to see.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
Other characters as well.
Because we haven't seen any. We know he's in the movie, right? Unless they like struck him. I think
he's gonna be in the beginning of the movie, and he's gonna be like working with Mario in Brooklyn somehow, or like some kind of rival, maybe. I don't know. I think he's gonna be in the beginning of the movie though, at least.
Do you think he's just like a setup for like another side movie instead? Like he's in it, but he's not like in it.
Well, if he's in the movie, it makes sense for him to be in like a New Donk City kind of area, this like Brooklyn area. It makes sense for him to be there, and we know that Mario starts off there, and there's a reason he goes to the Mushroom Kingdom, but we're not sure what it is. Like maybe Donkey Kong somehow makes him go there.
Here's something that's super interesting about what's been leaked so far. This is promotional material, so I feel like it's safe to talk about. I'm warning you now, but all I'm talking about is basically posters that they're gonna share in the coming days, probably by tomorrow publicly. Right. So I don't feel like anything I'm gonna share is gonna be like super strong spoiler territory, but this is your warning. So, we kind of already touched on it already. Actually, one of the shots shows Mario and Luigi in a Brooklyn-looking environment with a street that literally says Brooklyn on it. Pauline is in it. Mario and Luigi are standing in front of their own personal vans for their Mario plumbing business. So the idea here is that they own a plumbing business together, and there are some descriptions that came out too. And basically is that they have a business, and this is where they're from. And I don't know what happens to get them to the Mushroom Kingdom, but something will ensue. But the basic sort of setting, honestly, seems pretty much like the original Mario Bros. Movie, the live-action one. Because Mario and Luigi were brothers. They had some sort of plumbing business, and then shit went awry, and then they found themselves in a really messed up dystopian Mushroom Kingdom world. So, not that different. Like, different in terms of, like, execution and how it looks and representation of the brand. But in terms of the brothers having this origin from a New York-like place, having some sort of small plumbing business, that's all kind of, like, there. I mean, that's kind of canon to Mario.
We have heard, like, things about him, like, Mario having a boss, though. I forget, it was, Foreman Spike or something?
Really?
That was supposed to be in the movie? Yeah. There was even the actor who's supposed to voice acting him said that he was going to be in the movie. So, I'm not sure.
I haven't seen
how that role's going to come in.
I'm not sure. I mean,
technically, it's never been confirmed, but the dude straight up said he was in it, and everybody was like, "Oh, okay."
I don't know.
He's like, "Yeah, I play Foreman Spike in the Mario movie." Like, that's what he said. He's like, "I'm like Mario's boss." It's like, what are you talking?
Yeah,
he's not in the movie yet.
I don't know what that means. I don't think he has a boss.
I'm surprised you haven't seen anything of that. Like, that was going around the internet a ton. Like, look, maybe Google it. I don't know, because I'm surprised you haven't seen anything of it.
Well, it might be because the last month I've just been really busy with work.
That's not really been the last month though. This is like a while. This is before we even saw like. This is like a little bit after we saw the rest of the cast get revealed. This was a while back.
Okay, I'll Google it. Let me see. Mario movie.
Yeah, actor/comedian Sebastian Maniscalco revealed that he's going to be playing a character named Spike in the Super Mario movie. This was back in. This would load. Yeah, this is about a year ago.
Huh.
Yeah, apparently, Foreman Spike was Mario and Luigi's boss in The Wrecking Crew.
Back in 1984. Interesting. Yeah, but that's The Wrecking Crew.
He says he's gonna play in this movie, so I don't know if he's gonna. Maybe he won't be their boss; he'll just be somebody else.
Well, maybe what happens is Mario and Luigi are working as construction workers for Foreman Spike, and they decide to not work for him anymore, and they create their plumbing business. And when they start trying to run their plumbing business, it leads them to other ventures that eventually gets us to the Mushroom Kingdom. So, before I move on, I want to talk a little bit about the time, how long this movie is going to be. Because I've seen a few different things come up. One spot was suggesting the movie is going to be about 100 minutes long. Another was suggesting 85 minutes. Or 83 minutes or something like that. So, I mean, that's a difference of between, we're either talking about an hour and 20 minute long movie or an hour and 40 minute long movie. I'm not sure which one is true. Maybe neither is true. Maybe they're both placeholders. Hard to say. But, just based off that, do you have any sort of, concerns about movie length?
Yeah. 20-something minutes.
You're breaking up.
No. I mean, there's a lot of animated movies that are short. I wasn't expecting this to be like a 3-hour long epic. Is it fine now? Is it good? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I just can't see you.
You can.
I can see
turn
you.
The camera off then.
Yeah, I can see you, but it's just super choppy.
Oh, well, that doesn't matter. Who cares?
Well,
as long as you can hear.
You just looked frozen.
Hear me?
Yeah. No, I can hear you. Yeah.
That's fine. I don't care about that. Yeah, as long as you can hear me, that's fine. What was I saying?
That the length doesn't necessarily matter.
Yes, we were talking about the length of the movie. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be super long. So I don't think it matters too much. I was expecting it to be less than 2 hours. So an hour and a half makes sense. A lot of animated movies are about an hour. The Lion King. I saw a couple other people comparing movie lengths. A lot of very popular animated movies are an hour and a half. So it seems pretty reasonable, pretty standard to be honest. It's not that short. I think people are so used to Marvel movies and different movies being 2 or 3 hours long, which didn't used to be the standard. It's movies that have just been getting longer and longer nowadays.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings used to be considered really long at 2.5 hours, and now it's just if it's a big movie, that's just how long it's gonna be. So I think an hour and a half makes sense.
Aren't Lord of the Rings more 3 hours?
It's their first movie.
Every Lord of the Rings movie is 3.5
going
hours.
Hard. It depends on the extended editions can be 3 hours. I don't even think they go to 3.5. I think they're 3 hours. I'm not even sure if they're the longest movies anymore, because they used to be some of the longest movies. I don't know. I know there's the one of the DC movies, one of the Snyder ones that got re-released was 3 hours long. I was gonna watch it, and I was 3 hours? No way.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch it.
Yeah. Let's I'll just give you my thoughts on this, and then I think we'll move on. I'm not too concerned about the length. Basically, this is my perspective. My perspective is whatever the length is, be it an hour 20, an hour 40ish, whatever it ends up actually being, my belief is that will be enough time to make a good movie, because they will have made the decision to cut it to that length. So basically, I put my faith in Illumination and Nintendo, and just making sure that whatever is coming together is going to be a solid work. Like, they're not rushing this. They're taking their time with this movie.
Yeah.
They spent so many years on this. Like, they're ensuring that it's a quality work. So whatever it ends up being, it's just going to be something that's going to come out and be like, oh, okay, that was good. It was complete. So, I mean, to your point from earlier, like, there are some short movies that are amazing, like Lion King. I think, we're going to watch it, and whatever ends up being, it's just going to still feel like a complete end when we get there. It's not going to feel rushed.
I mean, they've been working on this movie since, when did they announce they were working on it? Like 2016, when they announced the NX?
A long time.
So they've been working on this movie for a long time. I'm sure it's going to come out, and it's going to be just the right length. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's going to be one of those movies. I mean, Illumination's movies are always...
Yeah.
So, there's not a lot of, like...
Yeah, sorry, I was just...
downtime.
You cut off for a little bit there.
Super reflective, like, long shots.
Okay.
Or anything, so...
Yeah. I think it's going to be a fine length, whatever ends up being. But let's move on to... we talked a fair bit about Pokemon already. We'll circle back to it for a little bit before we close things out. But I first want to talk about the Kid Icarus tease. So let me see if I can pull that up here for you guys. Basically, Masahiro Sakurai has his own YouTube channel, right? And let me pull it up here for you. Let's see here. Okay, it's called the channel is called Masahiro Sakurai and Creating Games. I'm gonna share it with you guys. Okay, give me a second. Okay, here we go. Info. There we go. All right, so I'm on the YouTube channel now. Right, you see this is his channel. You should definitely recommend you check it out, because he shares a lot of good videos on game development and ideas and concepts. So if you want to get into game development, or just curious about how games are made or concepts behind them, definitely check out the channel, because there's a lot of good stuff here. But it's this one right here where we see something interesting come of it that kind of got us excited. So I'm just gonna skip to the end, right? It's like the very end.
Yeah.
So I'll just mute it because, there it is. He says, it sure would be nice to play Kid Icarus Uprising on a home console. I wonder if someone out there will ever port it, question. And then he has a little smile on his face. So, to me, that's a pretty hardcore tease. Yeah. Like, I don't...
At least it shows that he wants to do something with the game. Because the last time we heard about him talking about the series, he said he didn't want to do anything with it for like 10 years or something. Ridiculous.
Yeah, well, a year and a half ago, he actually talked about it. And he just said it would be really hard to do. Now he's like, oh, I wonder if someone will ever do it. Now, the reason this is super interesting is because, well, one, he suggests, in and of itself it's interesting, right? But it's more interesting when you factor in what we talked about a few months ago, when we saw the job listing from Bandai Namco, that they're being contracted by Nintendo to remaster a 3D action game. So when we talked about it back then, we went over the options, and myself personally, I felt very confidently that the most likely one that makes the most sense would be Kid Icarus Uprising. Why? Well, one, there aren't that many 3D action games out there that Nintendo would want to remaster that they wouldn't handle themselves. So, you know, really the ones that come to mind are Star Fox and Kid Icarus. So maybe it's possible Bandai Namco could be handling a Star Fox remaster of some sort. But when you can take into consideration that Bandai Namco has worked closely with Masahiro Sakurai on several Smash games, and that the Star Fox games don't really need another remaster because every Star Fox game is kind of like a reimagining of the previous one already. They've redone the same story several times. Meanwhile, Kid Icarus Uprising is a game that people have been demanding and requesting for a remaster or port for years since it came out. And the biggest issue with Kid Icarus Uprising was the controls that were available on the system. It just basically was not something that really functioned well on the 3DS. It's something that would benefit really well by having dual analog controls. So it makes sense to repurpose this game for a traditional home console. As Sakurai kind of alludes to in his video, because I would love to see that on a home console at some point. Well, yeah, I'm paraphrasing, but I just showed you what he said. So, you know, it made sense back then, and now you factor what he's saying now about Kid Icarus Uprising, whenever as someone's ever going to port it, has that smug little look on his face. To me, that's... I already believe this Bandai Namco project was Kid Icarus Uprising. I now strongly believe it's Kid Icarus Uprising. Is it possible it's not? It is possible it is not. But like I'm well above 90% at this point. My opinion. Obviously it's my opinion, but I'm well above 90% here. I feel more strongly that Bandai Namco is working on a Kid Icarus Uprising port of some sort, be it a remastering or not. And I mean, the thing is, like, we're talking, the facts are that Bandai Namco is being contracted by Nintendo to remaster a 3D action game. That is a fact. This is not a debate. This is a fact. Now, the debate is, what is it, and will it come to completion? With everything I just said, with how it makes sense for a 3D action for Kid Icarus to be the one that would get remastered, with the relationship Sakurai and Bandai Namco already have because they've worked together repeatedly on the different Smash games, it makes sense for them to be working on a remaster of Kid Icarus Uprising because Sakurai would also have experience with that team and be able to oversee it as well. So I think this is what it is, and I'm really excited about it because I think this is a game that once it comes out, be it on Switch or Switch 2 when it's finally ready, it's going to see far more success than what it saw on 3DS. And I think Kid Icarus Uprising is finally going to show, hey, look, this is a series, and with its success, I think it could lead to more Kid Icarus games, and that's really exciting because I've been missing out on Kid Icarus for quite some time. When I played Uprising back on the 3DS when it came out, almost 10 years ago at this point, it was a true joy to play. One of my favorite games on 3DS, definitely like my top 3 3DS games. Or top 5, because it has a good lineup, but it's definitely in that conversation. I'm excited for the potential of Kid Icarus here, and I definitely think it's getting remastered.
Yeah.
Again, my opinion. I could be
makes
wrong,
more sense
but
than
I believe
Star
it.
Fox for sure.
Yeah.
I would love it. I haven't gotten to play the game. I've seen the game, so I know the story and the characters are really good. I heard the controls are kind of you either hate them or you love them. So I don't know about that.
No, you just hate them.
Obviously, in a remaster,
there's no
love them.
loving.
You just hate them.
It's just hate. It's just hate them or put up with them.
Gotcha. So that should be something that they could fix in the remake or remaster, obviously. As far as if this is like a tease or not, I can't say for sure. It sounds like one. Sakurai is known to tease things from time to time, but we are also known to take his words out of context from time to time. So it's hard to say, but this kind of does remind me of the situation back during a Zelda concert. I believe it was Aonuma, I think, who teased Skyward Sword HD, asking people, "Oh, don't you want Skyward Sword on Switch?" And well, that was real. So it kind of reminds me of a similar thing where they're just kind of like hyping up or teasing it, just being like, "Hey, you guys want this? I want this. You guys want this too, right?" It's like, well, obviously we do. So it kind of feels like a similar situation. So I could definitely see it being like actually real. but at the same time, it's not. I'm not maybe as confident as you, but I could definitely see it happening for sure.
Yeah, it's happening. I mean,
fingers crossed, man.
Yeah, fingers crossed, right? I mean, regardless, Nintendo is working on something with Bandai Namco. We'll see what that is. And to your point from earlier, even if they're not working on one now, with what Sakurai is saying, I think that bodes well for them to greenlight a remaster at one point or another. But I definitely think it's already being worked on. I just believe that. I'm sorry, I do. I could be wrong, but I believe that this is it. It's coming.
But you could be right.
I could be right. I believe I'm right. I'm willing to bet on it, but I don't know what I'm going to bet. So yeah.
Well, I'm not willing to bet against you, so.
That's right.
You win
back.
automatically, sir.
You stay back. Yeah, we're nearing the end of the show, guys. If you could just put out your final thoughts or questions, we'll get to that as we close out. I'm gonna just briefly talk about Pokemon here as well. So, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sold over 10 million in the first 3 days. We've kind of touched on this throughout the night already, but I think that is very impressive. It goes to show that open world Pokemon game, that's a formula for success in terms of numbers.
People have been asking for.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that it has so many issues. Now, the interesting thing is that the numbers suggest that those issues don't seem to matter that much. I wonder, if that because people knew about the issues before the game released, right? So people had the option to not buy it then. There were reviews. People could have canceled their pre-order. Some did, but that happens all the time. Some people probably doubled down. That's how it works. The fact is, though, 10 million in the first 3 days is not only the fastest launch for any game period on Nintendo Switch. It's the fastest launch ever for Nintendo, and it's also the fastest launch ever for any single exclusive game on any platform in the history of the video game industry.
Oh my god.
Now, I know some people are going to misunderstand that. There are a few multi-platform games that have sold faster in the past. Those are multi-platform games. We're talking about a game that's coming out on just one single system.
Right.
To sell 10 million in 3 days is unprecedented. Will those numbers dip? Most likely. I probably won't sell 10 million every 3 days, because after 2 weeks it'll be like the best-selling Nintendo game ever or something like that. But it's a really good sign. It suggests that maybe Scarlet and Violet will probably be the best-selling Pokemon game ever, or at least past Sword and Shield on Switch. We'll see how things pan out. Now, if they give a nice little patch, they have a solid DLC. I think they have a good chance there. I really do hope they patch the game because it needs it. And that's kind of, something I talked about last week. That even though there are all these issues, people are still buying the game. People are still playing the game. People are still enjoying the game. I am still enjoying the game. I'm going to play through the game. I'm not going to stop. It's still a good time. So it does kind of beg the question, how much do these issues really matter? They do matter. It does bother me, and I think these issues in other games I'd be less forgiving. Maybe. I don't know. It kind of goes both ways, because, if I play a lower budget game, I'll be like, oh, okay, whatever. It's just, a lower budget game, right? So I'm not going to be as angry about it. But on the flip side, because it's also Pokemon, while I feel like they should be held to a higher standard, it's also Pokemon, and I know it's already kind of ingrained in me to like it, if that makes sense. I enjoy the Pokemon formula, right? I enjoy the battles. There's certain I know that there's gonna be epic fights in the future. There's gonna be epic Pokemon to find. I'm excited to find what's out there. That mystery, that allure is still there. So that's not gonna stop me. And it's not so bad that the game's unplayable for me. It's just an occasional thing it's an occasional annoyance for me, really. That's how I would describe it. An occasional annoyance. I'm like, man, I really wish that wasn't there, but whatever. I'll continue on. The majority of the time, the game doesn't have any issues for me, minus frame rate stuff. But it's passable, I guess. Anyway,
fine, passable. It is technically, you can do the inputs and the game will play. Yes.
There are far worse games. I'll say this. Yes, there are frame rate issues, but something that bothers me in some games.
This is no Ark Survival Evolved.
Yeah, I think
pre-new port.
This is something that I can say, right? Like, something that bothers me the most about games is when I feel like my actions are not responsive, where I do something and it does not actually appear on screen. Scarlet Violet does not have that kind of issue, right? Like, when you do stuff, things are happening. But there's a lot of random shit that just can happen that they clearly didn't, optimize enough to avoid. Like, one time I got stuck in a cliff. I found a way out by pressing Koraidon, but if it was just based off my own character movements, I would have been trapped there. Now, that happens in other games, too, I've done it in a lot of games, actually, sometimes, because I'm always, trying to find ways to move around in ways I shouldn't. But, you know what happened?
Yeah.
But then, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes the character appears in a place it shouldn't be. Sometimes textures show up weird. There are hiccups sometimes in battle. You'll see under the actual ground, but there's not anything there, but just invisible world. So there are issues, right? I'll see these issues a couple, maybe once every hour or something. It just exists. But anyway, it's interesting just to see that the game's still selling incredibly well, and I am curious, as more and more people become readily aware of what's going on, if the sales will continue to be this strong. I wonder if the criticisms that even impact the sales. It's hard to say. This is not going to be the most well-reviewed Pokemon game in history, even though I would say that if the game had the polish it needed, it would have been objectively the best Pokemon game ever.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but I think this game is showing signs to be, regardless, to still end up being the best selling. And if it gets patched, then you know what? It'll be the game we wanted it to be once it's patched. So that's fine. Now, I will also tell you this. Even if the game has minimal frame rate issues, even if all the glitches are taken out, there's still a lot of room for improvement. This isn't a perfect game from a gameplay perspective either. The towns, for example, I think the towns look cool. I love that they're a part of the open world. I like how they handled gyms. I think that's all great. But something I've also realized, having done a few of the towns already, pretty much when you go to a town, you're going to see a cool area. You're going to get the town's music, which is going to be nice. And you're going to have the gym, which will have its challenge, which may take place throughout the actual town, which is cool. But outside of some restaurants, there's nothing else in the town. You can't go inside every single building. A lot of buildings, it's just a door you can't go through. And the ones you can go through, most of them just show up a menu screen to go to eat food. There's there's usually at least one restaurant you can actually enter and walk around a little bit. But that's it. There isn't random people's houses that you can walk inside of and talk to them and things like that. That's all gone. So, to me, that just kind of feels like they didn't spend enough time to really flesh out the world.
Right.
So
I would say you can tell just by the design of the world in general. There's some areas that look like they're actually designed, and there's some areas that look like they're just nothing there, or not even just nothing to do, but there's literally nothing being rendered. It's just a few especially the desert areas. It's just sand and then a few rocks, but they're not even no polygons to them at all. There's a lot of areas that just look like they weren't finished, they weren't done designing them at all. There was gonna be stuff there where they were gonna make a design. The area is gonna look like literally anything, but it doesn't. It's very odd. And then there's other parts that look cool. I would say there's some views actually where you're looking the major city with the castle. Some of the areas around there look pretty cool, and they have like some design. Although the background details are like really awful, with like huge tiling and stuff. But like, where you can see there's design, it looks good, and it looks like they're going for stuff. But then there's just huge areas of the map that just like, as far as I can tell. And again, I haven't played it, so I can't tell if the scope of this completely. But it seems like there's a lot of areas that look like they just weren't designed or weren't finished at all.
Yeah, it's weird because like there's a lot of things they're doing right, but I do feel like, what if the game had another year of development time? I think that probably would have been the difference. Like, like
I think another year could have been a great game.
Add more side quests, that kind of give more reason to talk to characters inside towns. Maybe add random houses that are just kind of in the field. Like when you're playing the original Pokemon games, like in between towns, there might be an occasional house, and you go in and there's something going on there. It's not just all random fields, and yeah, obviously maybe make them more detailed, add more structures, maybe. There's a museum, there's a chateau, like there's just different things that have a history behind it and a story behind it or something that make it fun to explore. And it's not just the wilderness, which is cool, but there's gotta be more than that. So there's definitely room for improvement, even if the game was fully polished out where there is no glitches or frame rate issues. There's still a lot of room for improvement. Did you see that 60 FPS modification they made for Scarlet and Violet?
I believe it's like a mod for the emulator, but yeah, it looked good. It did look like the game was running too fast, because I do believe that the game speed is tied to the frame rate. So you can see like the character looks like they're moving pretty fast. I don't know if they fixed that, or if they can fix that or not. But it looked smooth. It was nice seeing the game smooth.
Yeah.
For sure. It was like, man. Game looks a lot better like this. Yeah. I mean, even a smooth 30 would honestly be a big jump from what we have now, but 60 is great. It gives me... I was hoping to see 60 FPS Pokemon this generation. I think they might have been able to do it with a sword and shield level game, but they didn't.
Yeah,
but maybe next generation.
I don't think they. I think they went in the right direction. I just think that they needed more time to head in that direction.
Yeah, I think on Switch they made the right choice to go like open world and target 30, even though they didn't hit that. But still, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear here. This isn't a Switch issue. This is they didn't have enough time issue.
Yeah, they didn't have enough time.
I'm not saying the game would have ran perfectly if they had time to optimize, but it would have been a lot better. It would have been passable. So yeah, definitely issues need to be resolved. Hopefully a lot of it gets patched, but also, there's still a lot of room for improvement. The games can still be a lot better. So we'll see. I actually am planning a video tomorrow. I'm probably gonna talk about more specifically like what needs to be done for the games to actually be done right. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but I think that conversation can make a difference. Will it make a difference? Probably not. But if we have the conversation, if it makes sense, if it is logical, it will be heard. I do feel like there's a lot of things we've talked about here in the channel over the last few years that have materialized in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if that's necessarily us or maybe the collective gaming industry, or maybe it's just because we were talking about because it was logical. Eventually the designers came to those same logical conclusions. But I also do know that a lot of designers and developers do watch videos like this and they pay attention. So having these conversations can make a difference. But we'll see. I do have something planned for tomorrow. But let's check in with the chat here, and then we'll call it a night. I actually got another super chat here from Taker610. Thank you very much, Taker. Taker says, has GF Game Freak ever done definitive or deluxe type thing? You mean like a definitive edition or like a well, so they had a release, I believe, a physical release for the Scarlet and Violet DLC. Like you could get the games with the DLC included. There was that, if I remember correctly. Let me look that up. Did I say Scarlet Violet? Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield DLC. Yeah, there was. There's I'll share it with you guys here. You can. Where it be? Where it go? There we go. Yeah. So if you look here, you'll see like there was actual cases that had like the DLC at the bottom, the expansion pass. So they existed. That's probably the closest thing I could see. And by that point, the patches would have been out for the game. So what may happen, say this time next year, there will be a physical release for Scarlet and Violet that will include the expansion pass, the same way they did it with Sword and Shield, and that'll be it. I don't think they'll like call it like a deluxe or definitive edition per se, but that's what'll happen. Beyond that, the only other thing they've ever done is like remakes, but those come many years later.
Obviously, not what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were gonna say something.
No, not really.
Oh, okay. Alright, letting my cat in because she's scratching the door again. Alrighty. So, let me get back to the chat here. Alright. Hello there, Super Chris, how are you? I see, D. Foxy, you're ahead of me. Alrighty. Hello there, Joycey J, how are you? So I think Jesse was asking about a remaster remake. I'm not sure if you're referring to Kid Icarus Uprising or something else. For the Kid Icarus thing, I think the definition of remaster and remake has been very blurred over this last generation. I think there will be elements of Kid Icarus Uprising if it's brought to... So Jesus, be careful. Like I had my hand sticking out, you like jabbed yourself into it. You all right? Okay. All right, she's good. Anyway, remasters and remakes, like it's tricky. But what I was gonna say is that with Kid Icarus Uprising, I believe that there will be elements of the game that will still exist, right? So it's not going to be entirely remade, but there's going to be a lot of reworking to make it look like a modern game.
I honestly think that they would need to remake pretty much most of the assets, not all the assets. If it's going to look anything like a modern title, it depends. I mean, they could make it look like kind of okay-ish. But honestly, a lot of the effects and stuff are meant for like extremely low resolution. So there's a lot of like background details and things, and just like basic like cardboard cutouts essentially, or like no detail. Or there's a lot of areas that are just like basically pictures slapped on, like at the worst texture resolution you could ever imagine, because the screen's only 240p and it's tiny. Like there's a lot of... The game is not meant to be played on a big screen, much less at, say, 1080p or anything like that. Like the game is designed for 3DS, and it's an ambitious 3DS game, which means they have to make a lot of cuts. And it was a super early 3DS game, so they hadn't even really gotten to grips with the hardware completely yet. So I honestly do think a lot of the assets are so low quality that there's no way that they could use them for any kind of remaster even. It pretty much need to be remade, I think.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like, I don't know if they have to, like, redo, like, the voiceovers, for example.
No, they don't have to do that.
Yeah, maybe they will. I don't know. Do not bite the cable. Bad. Anyway.
I mean, they'd have to get all the original actors back together, I guess.
Yeah, it's doable, but it's been, like, almost 10 years.
They could just remaster the audio.
They could remaster the audio. Like, now, if they're going to add new content, then they would have to, bring in some voice actors. But the voice actors are the most amazing parts about the game. What's interesting, though, if you go back and, like, you listen to some reviews or some people complaining about the voice acting, I'm like, listen, you got this wrong, boy. No.
Yeah, what are you talking
Voice
about?
acting is one of the best parts about it. But back then, voice acting was so uncommon for Nintendo. Which is another reason why I feel like the game should have been received better. But I don't know, I guess some people are just like, voice acting, I don't want to listen to the game. That was the cool part about, anyway, whatever. Everyone has a different opinion. Anyways, the game was still reviewed pretty well across the board. But yeah, I think voice acting, they could just remaster it, to your point. Visually, yeah, they would have to rework a lot. I agree with you there. Even though like the game is a real looker for 3DS, it's a beautiful.
It is for 3DS.
Yeah. It's a beautifully designed game, but they would at least have to clean up the textures. So, and then when you upscale it, that alone makes a big difference. But I'm sure there have to be more work than that done. And then the controls have to be reworked, obviously, as well. But, in terms of the content's amazing. So, I don't think they... I don't even need them to add new content in there. If they did, amazing. But they really don't even need to add new content because there's just so much content there. Just, remaster the game beautifully. Like, what comes to mind to me is basically what they did for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, where they redid most of the textures and redid all the character models. And added better lighting,
right. They redid a lot of the models in general.
Yeah.
For even the world geometry.
Yeah. So I think that would make a big difference. So what would we call that? It would probably be called a remaster. But by some people's standards, people would look at that as a remake. Sakurai called it a port. So, we'll see. I mean, I guess you could technically call all those a port. It's just a port with enhancements. A lot of enhancements. Yep. You have to change it to bring it to Switch. So, let's see here. Joycey J, yeah, if Nintendo brings out to the Game Awards, they will get a lot of attention. I agree.
Oh yeah, it's all that will get a lot of attention anywhere, though.
Yeah. Charles Shadow, like 25 plus million by January. It meant we had no influence to stop these sales. Less than 20, I'm pretty sure we did them at the sales. If they hit 25 plus million by January, that would be mind-boggling, because at that point it would pass Sword and Shield in just like 2 or 3 months. That's just crazy if that happens. I doubt that's going to happen, but I do think it's going to be close. A guy you don't know. Imagine if Bandai Namco was actually working on a remastered Metroid Other M. Well, that is a 3D action Nintendo game, so
that'd be a big yikes.
Yeah, but that's unlikely though. I would say, because we just got Dread.
Nobody wants.
They're working on Prime 4, and suppose there's also Metroid Prime. So I mean, I don't know when that would happen. And to Brandon's point, nobody wants that. I don't know. I would want it, but they also got.
I'm sure some people would want it, but
the general consensus
is that it's not a good game. I've never played it.
It actually is.
I don't have opinions on it.
The biggest issue with the game, in my opinion, is the controls. If a remaster could make a big difference. It doesn't fix the story, but
I'd try it.
There are just a few moments that are a little awkward, and they could really fix it up pretty easily. But yeah, I agree with you though. I think it's pretty unlikely that that's what they would remaster, but technically it could be that.
It's not impossible.
Yeah. Jesse says he's apparently one hit KO moves are broken right now in the code, and there's concern for the Cup tournament coming up in a couple weeks. Yeah.
We were talking.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, but I didn't talk about like potential future tournaments. I mean, that's the crazy part, right? Like, so this is where the competitive scene takes place. So if the RNG is not even working right for the competitive scene, like that's insane. Now I would assume there'll be a patch before that point, but there might not be.
What happens in a world where they have to use like Sword and Shield for competitive play or something?
They won't.
What would they do? Just deal with it?
Well, no, they've already announced that they're switching over. They're gonna switch over. It's just
okay.
Yeah. So,
it's just
it is the case.
It
is the case. There is a window with some generations where they play the previous generation for a little bit before they move on, but I'm pretty sure they already announced the cups for on Scarlet and Violet already. So like they're moving forward. They just gotta patch it. There's no going back at this point. That's not gonna happen.
Gotcha.
No.
Well, hopefully they patch it, I
It's
guess.
also one of those things where the meta might just be built around that mechanic. Or a broken mechanic, so, there's that.
Is it a bug, or is it a feature? It's a bug.
Yeah, it's a bug. It is a bug. Let's see here. I think we're pretty much at the end. If there's any final questions you guys have, I'll give you about 30 seconds to say it. Okay, you have a minute.
30 seconds. You give them the exact amount of time it takes for the latency of the stream, so they don't even have time to respond.
Yeah, Ruby was demanding attention. Earlier when she jumped up, I freaked out because I was sticking out my finger. I haven't clipped my nails, so they're like a little sharp, and I felt moisture, which to me was either her mouth or her eye. But I took a look at her. She's fine. So, yeah, but she's good. Vane God, what do you think is going to be the big surprise game for next year?
Honestly, let's just think about it this way. If a new 3D Mario doesn't come out next year, that means that the wait between 3D Mario and 3D Zelda will be bigger for 3D Mario. Which would be absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So it seems likely that a new 3D Mario will come out next year, right? So probably that.
My belief is that a 3D Mario is coming out next holiday. I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, I've already told you what I know a lot of people disagree with me, right? But if I had to guess, I feel like there's a better chance Switch hardware does come out next year than not. Just because, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, right? But one of the biggest reasons I think, too, is that, well, Tears of the Kingdom is coming out next year. It's going to be at least another half decade before we get our 3D Zelda. And 3D Zelda, Nintendo loves to use to push hardware. Do you think that they're gonna miss that opportunity? Okay, they might. They really might. But would they also miss the opportunity to push new hardware alongside a 3D Mario?
Yeah.
So now that
3D Mario honestly might have a better chance of showing off this next generation Switch, because what we've seen of Tears of the Kingdom, unless they're just really not showing what the game looks like at all. It basically looks like a slightly enhanced version of Breath of the Wild, right? It's not really gonna show off the power, even at 4K 60 of the next Switch, right?
I played Breath of the Wild.
But we haven't seen Mario, so the potential is that it could look really, really good, right?
Yeah.
It's still gonna work on the original Switch, but I think that they could do a lot.
Well, what if the next 3D Mario was actually a Switch 2 exclusive?
That'd be wild. That'd be wild. I wouldn't be hating. I think it would be bad for them financially to do a real generational cut. But honestly, I've always preferred real generational cuts. It's always better for the games themselves and moving forward the technology in general. So I like those hard cut generations, but just doesn't seem like it's what Nintendo should do financially, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't think that's what they should do. I mean, right now Switch is still selling really well, so either A, there's not a next generation system, or they have to have more of a transition.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you got 115 and quickly growing million units.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
it's a lot of demand, a lot of games, a lot of software being sold.
Yeah, right now software sales are insane, so you don't want to lose that. I don't know. It's tricky. That's why I almost feel like the next generation system might even be sort of marketed as somewhat of a mid-gen refresh, in the sense that, well, every game coming out for Switch is still they're going to be available on both systems because they don't want to alienate that audience, and they're still going to be promoting Switch. It'll just be kind of hey, there's just different price points. What do you want? You can still get the games on Switch, but the games are going to look and run better on Switch too, Yeah.
I don't think that they'll market it quite that way. I do think they'll market it as a new generation, especially because I think there will be a lot of third-party exclusive games, which, for mid-gen refreshes, if you go by the standards of Sony and Microsoft, was never, ever allowed. Like, you just could not have a game that only ran on the PS4 Pro or the Xbox Series, or One X, I mean. Like, it had to run on both that and the base unit. So I imagine that that's just not going to be the case with this console, and it's going to be hard to justify saying that it's the same console when it has exclusive games.
I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky.
I know the new 3DS tried to do this, but it failed very, very hard. So, like, I mean, not the new 3DS itself, but the exclusive games part of that failed very hard.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on how. Yeah, depending on how Nintendo wants to handle it. Because if they don't want to do, if they want to do like a cold turkey transition, then I don't think they bring out the next system next year because sales are just so good. Like that would be bad. So I don't think that. Joycey J, you had a plot prediction? Let me see. Let me look up.
For the Mario movie?
Yeah, I'm assuming. Let's see. I'm trying to find it. I'm looking. Okay, Joycey J said, I'm still hoping the plot is Peach and Pauline fighting over Mario and Pauline wins. Featuring the Rabbids. That would actually, God. I think that would work as a great sequel.
That'd be wild.
Yeah, that would be wild. I mean, we know, based off what we've seen from the leaks, Pauline is in the movie. Just so you know. So, or someone who looks just like her. So, yeah. Also, Charles Shaw said 117. I believe that's referring to 117 million. So actually, if you follow Paul Gale, he gave some updated numbers. They won't be reported by other venues for a little while, like about a week or so from now. But apparently, Switch is already over 117 million.
Man, you're telling me the Switch has hit Master Chief status? 117?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. It's past. It seems that it's already passed the PlayStation 4, so it's now the fourth best-selling system. And with Game Boy and Game Boy Color being around like a 118 million something mark, it's probably going to be the third best-selling system of all time by the end of the year.
Absolutely wild.
Right. Yeah. Then we'll be looking. It'll be the next leap will be 150, which is where the DS and the PS2 are. If they can get to that, that would be absurd.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps at the end of its life.
We'll see. We'll see. It's one of those things where, like, if the system comes out in 2024, then I think there's a really good chance it hits that, because you push the system next year, right? It probably doesn't sell as much as this year, but maybe it gets another 10 to 15 million. That gets you really close. Now, if they do a price drop next year, then that can make a big difference. Mm-hmm. Like you drop the price by $50 or something, that would be crazy. like, what if Switch OLED starts selling for $300? They just phase out base Switch and then Switch Lite's like 150 or something. When
they release their new system, they need to drop the price. Because even if they release their next system at $400, $350 for a Switch OLED by comparison is not going to be worth it, right?
No.
It's just not. So you're going to have to drop those prices a lot. Like, I'm going to say, like, at that point, Switch OLED needs to be like $250. Because that's... Well, maybe $300 at the most. I mean, it's got to be like $100 to $150 less than the next system. At least.
Yeah.
I don't imagine Nintendo coming out here being like, for $50. I mean, unless they just want to display the Switch 2 as a really good deal, I guess. Or the original Switch is a bad deal, I guess it would be really.
I don't know. I mean, when you think of it that way, like, it's hard for me to sort of see.
I am wondering if it's gonna be $400. I wouldn't be shocked if it was a $400 price point for the next Switch.
I mean,
Especially if they keep like the OLED screen and everything. I wouldn't be too shocked if they try to keep like a very similar housing or even the same housing as like the Switch OLED, just with different internals. That'd be dope. Honestly.
Yeah, no, I could see that. But I guess what I'm just kind of wondering is like, I don't know, maybe there's like no way the Switch 2 comes out next year. That because like I feel like they gotta have a price drop to your point, and I don't see them doing a price drop anytime soon. I mean, they could do it early next year. It's possible.
I don't know.
Like maybe they could do, or they price drop the Switch Lite. Maybe not $50 because that'd be really significant for that one, but maybe drop it by like $20 or something, bring it down to 180. Phase out base Switch, bring Switch OLED down to 300 or even 250. Like that would be a significant slash, and then you have Switch 2 at maybe 400 tops. I feel like you can't go beyond that.
Yeah, I don't think you can rival next gen. Well, maybe. I doubt it though. I don't think they're gonna need to be honest.
No, I feel like Switch 2 is gonna be like PS4 level or close to it, but with the DLSS technology, it's gonna look comparable to that. Even though it's like technically less computing power, it's just more efficient computing power because it's newer hardware with better techniques and stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's the same way. Like games, if you compare games on Wii U to like games on Switch, like the games on Switch obviously will look a lot better. There's a lot more that you can go, even though like the Wii U isn't that much weaker than the Switch in a lot of ways. The Switch has a lot more techniques and stuff. So it's gonna be fine being like in between Xbox One and PS4. There's gonna be a lot newer architecture than those systems. It's gonna support a lot of new features, and we just know how to develop for that class of hardware a lot more in general. Like we're always coming out with new techniques to make the most out of the hardware we have.
Yeah, I mean I like what Kick It Smooth says. I think a handheld PS4 is all it needs to be. Like that's It's pretty good, man. And if you have those games upscaled to like a DLSS 4K, and they're running a solid frame rate, like that's gonna look really nice. Like I think that's
we get anything near like Steam Deck levels of power, but with DLSS, it's gonna be a great machine.
Yeah. Now I will give the bigger reality a little pushback here. I think docked 1080p or more for sure, but.
Yeah.
Oh, 720, but 720p I think should stay for the screens because I don't think they need 1080p OLED screens in handheld mode because I mean pixel density, right? Like it's not as significant at that size. I mean, not even the also called the Game Gear, but the what I'm referring
Steam Deck.
The Steam Deck doesn't even have a 1080p screen, and that's like a far more expensive, powerful system. And I don't think Nintendo's going to create a whole other type of screen. Like they have this deal for the 720p OLEDs, so I kind of assume they're just going to use the same screen, just like as you said earlier, with better internals and things like that.
It's a great screen. I don't see the need to upgrade, really.
There's no need. Now, the thing is, a lot of Switch games don't hit that 720p in portable mode. I think across the board, you'll see pretty much every game hit that 720p in portable mode, and then 1080
especially if
or
they
above.
get DLSS working in portable mode, like you'll be golden for that.
Yeah. Now, not every game's gonna run at 60 frames per second either. It kind of depends on the developer and the what they want for the game and what type of game it is. But I would hope to see better frame rate performance overall across the board.
I would imagine you're going to see a lot better frame rates in open world games compared to like the Xbox One and PS4 because it shouldn't be nearly as CPU limited. Like on the Xbox One and PS4, if you have an open world game, it's pretty much impossible that you're going to run over like 40 FPS because you're just going to hit CPU limitations constantly and your game's going to be a stuttery mess. But I imagine we could see a big boost to performance, similar to, say, like the Xbox. In a lot of ways, the Xbox Series S actually has like lower resolutions than, say, like the Xbox One X, but it has like higher frame rates and more features. We could see something similar to that with like the PS4 and Xbox One compared to the Switch too, which will be really nice.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think we've reached the end of tonight's discussion. Guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Channel's gonna be content's gonna be coming out a lot more consistently on the channel now, for at least for the next few weeks. We are trying to push things to full time. We'll see how things go. We are looking for some sponsors now, so if you know anyone out there, definitely reach out. Yeah, so we're trying to push things now. So yeah, leave a like on the stream if you enjoyed it. Let us know, and stay tuned. I got a lot planned for tomorrow. Thinking probably gonna have a Pokemon video come out around 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We will be streaming the Mario Direct, and there'll probably be a little short or something that'll come out at night too. So there's a lot of content coming out, and just expect kind of that level of content throughout the week. So yep, we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.